Let me tell you something that might just shift your entire perspective. Staying quiet after being disrespected isn't weakness, it's strength. But in a world where everyone's shouting to be heard, where clapping back is seen as courage, silence is often misunderstood. We're conditioned to believe that if we don't respond, we're losing. That if we don't defend ourselves immediately, we're letting someone walk all over us. But here's the truth. When you react in anger, when you let someone else pull you into their storm, you give them exactly what they wanted, control over your emotions. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone lose their temper in public? Did they look strong or out of control? The loudest person in the room isn't always the most powerful. Sometimes it's the one who says nothing, who keeps calm, who holds their peace. Silence isn't submission, it's self-mastery. It's a choice to protect your energy. It's proof that you know who you are and that no one else gets to shake that. So next time someone disrespects you, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does their opinion define my value? If the answer is no, walk away in power. Let your silence be your strength, because real confidence, it doesn't need to shout. 2. Let's talk about something that happens to all of us, that moment when someone disrespects you. They say something slick, subtle, or straight up rude, and everything in you wants to react, to fire back, to let them know they crossed the line. But here's the trap, and it's a trap many people fall into. Disrespect is often designed to provoke you, to get under your skin, to take your focus off what really matters and drag you down to their level. And the second you react emotionally, you hand over your power. Let me ask you, have you ever looked back on a situation and thought, they didn't deserve that much of my energy? That's because they didn't. They were never looking for understanding, they were looking for control. People who thrive on drama feed on your reactions. It gives them a sense of power they couldn't create on their own. But when you stay calm, when you stay quiet, you starve them. You cut off their fuel. You send a message, you don't get to decide how I feel. You don't get to control my peace. And that message? It's louder than any comeback could ever be. So next time someone tries to bait you into a reaction, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this a battle or is this bait? Because when you choose silence, you're not backing down now. You're rising above. 3. Let's get real about something that often gets overlooked in today's noisy world. Your energy is your most valuable currency. And just like money, you can spend it wisely or waste it on things that bring no return. Every time you react to someone's drama, every time you jump into an argument, every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't even want to understand you, you're spending that energy, and it adds up fast. The more you give away to nonsense, the less you have for your real priorities, your peace, your goals, your future. I want you to ask yourself honestly, how much of your focus has been stolen by things that didn't deserve it? By people who were never going to change no matter what you said? If we're not careful, we end up emotionally broke, exhausted, burned out, distracted, and not because of the good, hard work it takes to grow but because we handed out our energy to battles we were never meant to fight. Here's the truth, not every situation deserves a response. Silence is not indifference. It's wisdom. It's knowing the difference between what matters and what's just noise. The next time you're pulled toward conflict, pause. Ask, is this worth my focus? Does it align with my purpose? If not, let it go. Because your energy, it's sacred. Spend it where it builds you, not where it breaks you. 4. There's this idea floating around that if you don't defend yourself, if you don't clap back, you're somehow weak. But let's pause right there. Because real strength, true self-respect, often looks nothing like what the world expects. Sometimes respecting yourself means not engaging. Not because you couldn't win the argument, but because the moment isn't worth your dignity. Silence, when chosen wisely, is a declaration. It says, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it to you. I've been there wanting to explain, wanting to respond, wanting to say, you've got me all wrong. But you know what I've learned? People who are committed to misunderstanding you will never hear you anyway. So instead of spending my breath defending my name, I let my actions do the talking. My work, my peace, my progress. That's what maturity looks like. You stop arguing with noise. You stop chasing applause. And you start focusing on becoming someone whose presence speaks louder than any comeback ever could. So if someone disrespects you and you're tempted to react, ask yourself, is this moment about them, or is it about me choosing peace? Because the truth is, some responses don't need volume. They need restraint. They need discipline. And they need the quiet confidence that says, I know my worth. Silence isn't weakness. It's dignity dressed in wisdom. 5. Let's clear something up right now, eh? Silence doesn't mean you gave up. Silence doesn't mean you lost. In fact, silence is often the most powerful move you can make. Because it's not passive, it's strategy. See, anyone can react. Anyone can explode. Anyone can fire off a post, a message, a clever insult. But it takes wisdom to pause. It takes maturity to stay still when your pride is begging you to speak. And it takes vision to remember what you're really working toward. The truth is, successful people don't explain themselves to small minds. They don't waste time defending their every move. They let their life, their progress, do the explaining. I've learned this the hard way. There were moments I wanted to prove my worth, to respond to critics, to correct lies. But when I kept moving in silence, when I stayed consistent, the results said what words never could. That's the thing, results don't need an introduction. Progress doesn't ask for permission. And real growth? It doesn't beg for attention, it attracts it. So the next time you feel tempted to argue, to prove something to someone who's already made up their mind, remember this, not everything deserves your energy. Keep building, keep rising, and when it's time, let your consistency do the talking. Silence isn't surrender, it's strategy backed by action. 6. Sometimes when someone disrespects you, it stings. It feels personal, like a punch to the chest. You start asking yourself, did I deserve that? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth most people never tell you. Disrespect usually isn't about you at all. It's about them, their pain, their bitterness, their brokenness. People don't just randomly lash out. They project what's inside. A person filled with peace doesn't stir up chaos. But a person drowning in insecurity? They'll do anything to make someone else feel small so they can feel a little bigger. And here's the catch. When you take their words to heart, when you carry their negativity, you're making their pain your responsibility. You're picking up baggage that was never yours to begin with. Have you ever walked away from an argument only to replay it for hours? You think of all the things you could have said, should have said, but none of that brings peace. Why? Because the weight you're feeling? It doesn't belong to you. That's where silence comes in. Silence isn't you being passive, it's you setting boundaries. It's your way of saying, I won't accept what isn't mine. I won't wear your pain like it's my truth. So the next time someone disrespects you, try this. Don't react. Don't explain. Don't absorb. Just breathe and remind yourself, this isn't about me. Their words reflect them, not you. And your silence? That's you refusing to carry what never belonged to you. 7. Let me tell you something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need to convince every critic, prove yourself to every doubter, or win over every person who questions your worth. Because the truth is, some people will never respect you. And that's not your fault. It's not your job to shrink yourself just to make them feel comfortable. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You've learned that not every battle is yours to fight, not every insult deserves your breath, and not every relationship deserves access to your peace. When you walk away, you're not giving up, you're stepping up. You're saying, I know who I am. I don't need your validation to stand in my truth. Think about this. Have you ever wasted hours, even days, replaying what you should have said to someone who disrespected you? That's energy you could have used chasing your dreams, building your life, protecting your joy. Every minute you spend trying to explain your worth to someone who refuses to see it is a minute lost on someone who never mattered in the first place. Walk away. Not because you're weak, but because your energy, your goals, your purpose, they're too valuable to waste. Let them say what they want. You've got better things to do. 8. You know what real confidence looks like? It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to walk into a room and demand attention. Real confidence is quiet. It's that unshakable calm when everything around you is trying to make you react. It's choosing to walk away from chaos, with your head held high, knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation. We live in a world where people confuse volume with power, where the one who talks the most is seen as the strongest. But let me ask you this. When's the last time someone screaming left a lasting, positive impression on you? Exactly, because people don't remember the noise. They remember composure. They remember the one who didn't flinch, the one who stayed calm, the one who didn't lower themselves just to prove a point. Maybe you've been there. Someone disrespected you, pushed your buttons, tried to get a rise out of you, and every part of you wanted to fire back. But deep down, you knew your silence would say more than your words ever could. That's strength. That's confidence. That's choosing dignity over drama. So the next time you feel the urge to react, stop and breathe. Remember, your power is in how you carry yourself, not how loudly you respond. Let others lose control. You stay grounded, because in the end, real confidence doesn't roar. It whispers, I know who I am. 9. There's something powerful about letting time do what your words can't. Because here's the truth. Time humbles the disrespectful far more than any reaction ever could. When someone disrespects you, the first instinct is to fire back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong right there in the moment. But real wisdom says, pause, step back, let silence speak. You see, silence is not weakness, it's patience. And patience, my friend, is what gives truth the room to rise. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone mistreated, only for life to show the truth later on? That person who doubted you, disrespected you, laughed at your dreams? They're eventually forced to watch as your peace, your progress, and your purpose prove them wrong, without you saying a word. Because when you stay silent, you do something powerful. You leave them alone with their own reflection. No distractions, no drama, just them and their actions. So the next time you feel the heat rise, choose calm. The next time you want to react, choose trust. Because the truth always comes out. And when it does, the people who tried to tear you down, they'll be standing in silence, watching you rise. Let your silence be your strength. Let time be the judge. And never forget, peace is power. 10. There's a moment when the noise fades, and all that's left is your work, your progress, your growth. That's when it hits you. You never needed to argue. You never needed to shout, because your success was always going to be the loudest response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep moving forward in silence. No explanations, no validation, just focused action. The people who once doubted you, the ones who laughed, disrespected, or tried to pull you down, they'll come to see the truth not because you told them, but because your life made it undeniable. Think about this. A seed doesn't make noise when it breaks the ground. A tree doesn't announce each inch it grows. And yet, day by day, it becomes something too strong, too rooted to ever be shaken. That's you. You don't need applause to be valuable. You don't need permission to grow. What's meant for you, no one can block. Not their opinions, not their insults, not even their silence. So today, stay focused. Stay disciplined. Rise quietly. And let your life speak the words you don't have to. Because when the dust settles and the critics fade, it won't be your voice they'll remember. It'll be your results.